This is our media in the United States of America trying, through propaganda, through statistics, through whatever you want to know, to convince you that Israel is the aggressor, that big, powerful Israel is the one destroying the poor Palestinians. And then I keep hearing, it's a 141-mile square area. It's the most dense place on the face of the earth. Oh, I guess they shouldn't fight back then. So we have this fifth column in the United States that hates us, that is using our liberty, using our free speech, using our so-called academic freedom against us. I've said for decades now, tyranny, totalitarianism, uses liberty to destroy it. That's exactly what you're seeing today. But it's not just this group, it's the American media. The New York Times, as I wrote extensively in this book on freedom of the press, and there's book after book after book by historians on this, covered up the Holocaust. And yet it remains the newspaper of record. Same with these other outlets. I came here and I came on Fox and on my radio show and I said, stop calling these people Gaza militia or Palestinian fighters. In fact, they're terrorists and they're Nazis. And so my first appearance on Fox, which I think, Mr. Producer, was what, Saturday early? Mm-hmm. I made it clear, Nazis. We need to call them Nazis so everybody understands what we're dealing with. And you would think over at MSNBC and CNN and Washington Post and the New York Times, that wouldn't be a word that they shy away from, or Hitler or Mussolini or Stalin, because they've been calling Trump all these things. They have no problem calling Donald Trump the first president who has Jewish family and grandkids, who is the most favorite American politician of all time in the state of Israel, where 7 million Jews are now fighting for their survival. To be calling him a Nazi? Or Hitler-like? Or some kind of fascist? But when it comes to the Students for Justice in Palestine, or when it comes to the Hamas terrorist organization, or the Hezbollah terrorist organization, or the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran, the word Nazi never passes their lips. They have more hate for Trump and those extremist MAGA Republicans than they do for the enemy. And I'll prove it to you in my book. I can't read it all. On page 72. This is Joe Scarborough, MSNBC. When Trump goes out there and whips people up, it's like a Mussolini rally. And yes, that's what I said. He hasn't called the terrorists Nazis. Hasn't called them Mussolini types. More Joe Scarborough. It's our responsibility to call out those times when constitutional norms are being challenged. Those times when the President of the United States actually channels Joseph Stalin and calls the media the enemy of the people. Wow, that's like Joseph Stalin, don't you know? So many examples, quite frankly. Here we have Scarborough again. Under Trump, quote, children are being marched away to showers, just like the Nazis said they were taking people to the showers and then they never came back. Joe Scarborough. Trump has very deliberately set up the press as the enemy of the people. You know, this is something that we first heard from Joseph Stalin. Again, Andrea Mitchell, MSNBC. An apologist for the enemy, in my view. Trump's administration follows, quote, the exact pattern that Hitler has, I hate to say it, with the propaganda, even down to the Red Cross went into Auschwitz. Producer of MSNBC, Michelle Reiner. See, they have no problem using these terms. Just not against real Nazis and terrorists. Under Trump, we can imagine a future of jackboots crashing through our doors at 2 a.m. Trucks in the streets to take people to the internment camps. Bright lights and barking dogs and worse. Chief political columnist, Roger Simon. I've got tons of these. I can't read them all. I'm just reading some of them. It's hard to fire your son-in-law, but Mussolini had a great solution to that. He had him executed. So, and then they go on. Unbelievable. And on and on and on. So they don't have a problem using the term Hitler, the Nazis, neo-Nazis, Mussolini, Stalin, when it comes to Donald Trump. They have a problem using it when it comes to actual Nazis and terrorists. As I speak, the New York Times has been caught changing headlines. You can check it out on my social media platforms. The New York Times has refused to do what I did here in literally 15 or 20 minutes, expose the Students for Justice in Palestine and how they're a fifth column in the United States. But why should they? They're a fifth column in the United States. And I wrote a news friend of mine, a news host at Fox. I was watching the various networks, and they started with their numbers game. How many people have been killed in the Gaza Strip versus how many people the Hamas Nazis slaughtered? So let me get this straight. A 6-month-old baby who was shot dead in his crib and beheaded, along with 39 other babies, is the equivalent of a Hamas terrorist? When they put those numbers up there, they're making a moral equivalency. Well, look how many they killed in Israel. Only 1,200, only 1,500. The Israelis have already killed 1,100, 1,200. And they get most of their data from whom? Hamas. Well, who have the Israelis killed? This is our media in the United States of America, trying through propaganda, through statistics, through whatever you want to know, to convince you that Israel is the aggressor, that big, powerful Israel is the one destroying the poor Palestinians. And then I keep hearing, it's a 141-mile square area. It's the most dense place on the face of the earth. Oh, I guess they shouldn't fight back then. Doesn't Hamas know it's a 141 square mile area and it's one of the most dense in the world? As I speak to you, Hamas will not allow citizens of that area to leave. Now, if you give a damn about your own people even, why would you be telling them to stay at their homes when the crap's being bombed out of the area? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you live for bloodlust, if you live to die, if you live for death and the death of other people, why would you care if fellow Palestinians are killed? If your view of the Quran and God is that nobody but you should live, and that you are basically the soldiers of God, then there's nothing that's going to stop you except your death and annihilation, your obliteration.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to LevinTV.com and subscribe now.